I stood at the grand entrance of the Azure Hotel, my heart pounding, as my sister's venomous words cut through the warm summer air. You don't belong here, Eleanor. Go home before you embarrass us all. Little did she know, I wasn't just a guest. I was the one who built this empire. If you love a story where the underdog flips the script and the truth hits like a thunderbolt, stick around. Hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into the moment my family's world turned upside down. The Grand Azure Hotel sparkled under the California sun, its glass facade reflecting the dreams I'd poured into it for over a decade. It was July, and the air buzzed with anticipation for my father's 70th birthday. A lavish affair planned down to the last crystal chandelier. I'd made sure of it. After all, I was Eleanor Marie Voss, founder and CEO of Azure Hospitality Group, a company that owned this hotel and 34 others across the globe. But to my family, I was still the black sheep, the failure, the glorified waitress who dared to walk away from their perfect little accounting firm to chase a pipe dream. As I approached the entrance, my heels clicking softly on the marble steps, I felt a familiar knot in my stomach. I wasn't nervous about the party itself. I'd hosted thousands of events like this. No, I was nervous about them, my family, the people who'd spent years reminding me I'd never measure up. I adjusted the simple black dress I'd chosen, elegant but understated, because I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Or so I thought. The truth was, I'd been carrying their judgment like a weight on my chest for years. Every snide comment, every dismissive glance, every time they'd laughed at my dreams, it all came rushing back as I neared the double doors. This wasn't just a party, it was a reckoning. Let's rewind a bit. I grew up in a family where success was measured in balance sheets and corner offices. My father, Richard Voss, built Voss and Associates, a prestigious accounting firm in San Francisco. My mother, Evelyn, was the perfect corporate wife, polished, poised, and perpetually disappointed in me. My older sister, Vanessa, was their golden child, a CPA who'd climbed the ranks at the firm by 30. Then there was me, the middle child, the one who never quite fit. I wasn't bad at numbers. I could have followed their path, joined the firm, and lived a comfortable life crunching numbers for wealthy clients. But I didn't want comfortable. I wanted more. I wanted to create something tangible, something that made people feel alive. Laughter in a bustling restaurant, memories made in a luxurious hotel suite. I wanted to build experiences. When I was 24, I told my parents I was leaving the firm to start my own hospitality business. The dinner table went silent. My father's fork froze midair. My mother's lips pursed so tightly I thought they'd disappear. Vanessa just laughed, a sharp, mocking sound that still echoes in my head. Hospitality? She'd said. What, you're going to be a waitress for the rest of your life? My father didn't say much, but his silence hurt more than words. He'd always been distant, but I thought he'd at least believe in me. Instead, he looked at me like I'd thrown away everything he'd built. My mother was more direct. You're wasting your potential, Eleanor. You'll regret this. I left anyway. I scraped together every penny I had, took out loans, and started small. A single boutique hotel in Napa Valley. It wasn't glamorous. I worked 18-hour days, cleaned rooms when staff called out, and learned the business from the ground up. My family never asked how I was doing. They just assumed I'd failed. Over the next 14 years, I built Azure Hospitality Group into a billion-dollar empire. 35 luxury hotels from New York to Dubai, each one a testament to the dream they'd mocked. I kept my success quiet, not out of shame, but because I didn't need their validation. Or so I told myself. Deep down, I wanted them to see it, to know I'd made it without them. Fast forward to the day of the party. My father's 70th was a big deal. Vanessa had made sure of that. She'd been planning it for months, renting out the Grand Azure's ballroom, bragging to anyone who'd listen about how she'd pulled strings to book such an exclusive venue. She had no idea I owned it. None of them did. I'd been invited, of course, but not out of love. Vanessa's email had been curt. Dad's party is at the Grand Azure. Show up if you want, but don't make a scene. The implication was clear. I was the family embarrassment, tolerated but not welcome. I arrived early, hoping to slip in quietly and wish my father well. Maybe, just maybe, I could have a moment with him, a real one where he'd see me for who I'd become. But as I approached the entrance, I saw them. Vanessa in a glittering red gown, and my mother dripping in pearls, standing like gatekeepers at the hotel's grand doors. "Eleanor," Vanessa said, her voice laced with disdain as she looked me up and down. "What are you wearing? This isn't a dive bar." I forced a smile. "It's good to see you too, Vanessa." My mother didn't even look at me. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her tone as cold as the marble under my feet. "This is a high-profile event. We don't need you drawing attention." Drawing attention, that was code for embarrassing us. I felt my cheeks burn, not from shame, but from the sheer audacity of it. Here I was, standing in front of my hotel, the one I'd designed down to the last detail. The chandeliers, the Italian marble, the hand-carved oak bar in the lounge. And they were treating me like I'd wandered in off the street. "Mom, I'm just here for Dad," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'm not trying to cause trouble." Vanessa laughed, that same sharp sound from years ago. "Oh, please, you're always trying to prove something, Eleanor. What, did you scrape together enough to buy a ticket to this? Or are you here to bust tables?" A few guests nearby turned to look, their eyes curious. I could feel the weight of their stares, but I held my ground. "I was invited," I said simply. "By who?" my mother snapped, finally meeting my eyes. "This isn't your world. Go home." That's when I felt it. The old wound, the one I'd buried under years of hard work, splitting open. I could have walked away. I could have let them have their moment. Let them keep believing I was nothing. But something in me snapped. Not anger, not yet. It was clarity. I was done being invisible. Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Madam CEO, is everything all right?" It was Marcus, my head of security, a towering man with a calm professionalism that could silence a room. He'd worked for me for years, and he knew the stakes of this moment without me saying a word. Vanessa froze. My mother's eyes widened just for a second before she regained her composure. "CEO?" Vanessa said, her voice dripping with skepticism. "What's this, some kind of joke?" Marcus didn't flinch. "No, ma'am. Ms. Eleanor Voss is the founder and CEO of Azure Hospitality Group, the owner of this hotel and 34 others worldwide." The air seemed to vanish from the courtyard. Vanessa's mouth opened, but no words came out. My mother's face went pale, her pearls suddenly looking like cheap costume jewelry against the weight of the truth. The guests nearby stopped talking, their champagne flutes hovering midair as they leaned in to listen. I didn't say anything at first. I just let it sink in. The hotel they had been bragging about, the one Vanessa had pulled strings to book, was mine. The chandeliers they'd admired, the staff they'd ordered around, the very ground they stood on, it all belonged to me. "Eleanor," my mother said, her voice barely above a whisper, "is this true?" I looked at her, then at Vanessa, whose smug grin had vanished. "Yes," I said, my voice calm but firm. "It's true." I turned to Marcus. "Please escort my family inside. They're my guests." As I walked through the doors, the crowd parted like a wave. Whispers followed me. Guests, business tycoons, even a few celebrities, all suddenly aware of who I was. I could feel Vanessa and my mother trailing behind, their heels clicking uncertainly. For the first time in my life, they were following me. Inside, the ballroom was a vision, my vision. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables draped in silk, each centerpiece a work of art. The guests were a who's who of California's elite, and they were all here because of me. Not Vanessa, not my mother, me. I made my way to the stage where a microphone waited. The room quieted as I stepped into the spotlight. My father was seated at the head table, looking older but still imposing, his eyes fixed on me with a mix of confusion and curiosity. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. "Thank you for joining us to celebrate my father's 70th birthday. This hotel, the Grand Azure, is a place I hold dear. It's not just a building, it's a dream I built from the ground up." A murmur rippled through the crowd. I could see Vanessa and my mother near the back, their faces a mix of shock and something else. Regret, maybe? I continued. Tonight isn't just about my father, it's about family, about what it means to believe in someone, even when they take a path you don't understand. I paused, letting my words hang in the air. I built Azure Hospitality Group because I believed in something bigger than what was expected of me. And tonight, I want to share that with the man who taught me to dream big. I gestured to a staff member who brought out a sleek black folder. Dad, I said, looking directly at him, this is for you. He opened it, his hands trembling slightly. Inside was the deed to a luxury villa in Napa Valley, my first hotel's neighbor, a place I'd designed with him in mind. His eyes widened, and for the first time in years, I saw something like pride in them. The room erupted in applause, but I wasn't done. I turned to the crowd, my family included. Success isn't about proving others wrong, I said. It's about proving yourself right. I hope tonight reminds us all to see people for who they are, not who we assume they'll be. After the speech, the party continued, but it was different now. Guests swarmed me, offering business cards, partnerships, and apologies for not knowing who I was. Vanessa and my mother hovered nearby, unsure of what to say. My father approached me later, alone, his voice quiet. Eleanor, he said, I didn't know. I know, I replied. I didn't need you to know. I just needed you to believe in me. He nodded, his eyes misty. I'm proud of you. Those words, ones I'd waited my whole life to hear, felt like a balm on a wound I hadn't realized was still open. But I didn't need their forgiveness, and I didn't need their approval anymore. I'd built my empire, my life, my way. As I left the ballroom that night, I glanced back at the table where my family sat. They were still processing, still grappling with the truth, and I realized something. I didn't need their respect to feel whole. I'd earned my own. I took my seat at the head of the table I'd built, under the roof I owned, and for the first time, I felt truly at home. Thanks for listening to my story. If it moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories of triumph and truth, and let me know in the comments, what would you have done in my shoes? Until next time, keep building your own table.